It is your brokenness that determines your usefulness. And until one is broken, until you are totally broken and yielded, somebody say yieldedness. You cannot be fruitful, useful in God's hands. You can't be a vessel unto honor until you are broken. Anyone that God ever used was a broken vessel. The great men and women of old and of our time, like the John Knoxes. Queen Mary of Scotland said, I fear the prayers of John Knox than all the armies of Europe put together. The prayers of John Knox. Because he was a man broken. D.L. Moody sat in a train, riding and journeying from upstate New York to Chicago, and the train stopped in Rochester, New York. He didn't come off the train. He was sitting in the train when the Holy Ghost fell on the city of Rochester, and people were receiving the baptism in the Holy Ghost, and there were great move of God and healing taking place all over town. People were speaking in other tongues and falling under the power of the Spirit. And one of the managers went to this lady and said, what is this crazy thing going on all over town? And the lady said to him, there is nothing crazy about what's going on. It looks like D.L. Moody is in town. What a way to define a man. What a way to define a man. That he comes to town, and just his presence in town causes shiftings in the heavens, and the atmosphere becomes conducive for the visitation of the Spirit of God. What a way to define the man. Because these were vessels that were broken. They were yielded. That what matters was about God's presence and the glory. They became carriers of his glory and carriers of his presence. That what matters was God's presence, and what matters was God's oil than anything else. Today, if you and I can be useful, if you and I can make an impact, and if you and I will ever make history, like some of these great men and women that live, like the D.L. Moody's and the A.A. Allens and the Jacko and the William Branham and the Catherine Kuhlmans and the Amy Simple McPherson, and there's so many others, Alexander Dowie and all the others, and John G. Lake, who was in South Africa, right there in South Africa. And a man was sick in Scotland and has lost his mind and became insane. And the Spirit of God transported John G. Lake without an aircraft, carried him from Cape Town, right there in South Africa, right there to Scotland, prayed for the man, healed the man, and the Spirit of God carried him back to Cape Town. That kind of manifestations don't come by just reading the Bible and speaking in tongues. That kind of manifestation comes as a result of brokenness, when you are void of pride and void of arrogance and void of ego and stripping of insecurity and of recognitions of men and of image and sensitivity and offense and being hurt and being offended. You have no right to be offended when you are ignored. If you are offended because you are ignored, you are not broken. If you are hurt because you are disrespected, you are not broken. If you are sensitive towards men and what people say about you, if you are one that is concerned about public opinion and perception of men, then you are not broken. You cannot be used. For he was a man rejected, despised of God, smitten of God. We hid our faces as it were from him. A man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and it pleased God to bruise him, yet by his stripes we were healed. Is anybody hearing me? And the Bible said, despising the shame that was set before him, he endured the cross. If you cannot despise shame, God can use you. If you can endure something, God can use you. If you are the type that is uptight about everything, concerned about everything, worried about everything, want to be in the good books of men, God can use you. The people God used have no reputation. I said in the second service, I lost my pride long time ago, and I lost my reputation long time ago. I was trying to hold on to my reputation. I was trying to protect my reputation, and the more I tried to hold on to it, the more I tried to protect it, the more it left me, and finally left me. And I have no reputation nor pride anymore. And all I seek for is to please him that called me. For God I live and for God I die. I don't know about you, but until you are willing to be broken where you are misrepresented and yet you can speak and defend yourself. Went to my grandfather in the faith here. I was born in Tulsa. I said, Grandpa, I'm dealing with some stuff. And he said, I know, I've heard it. And he said, stay in the throne room, son. Stay in the throne room. Stay in the presence of God and be anointed. He says, stay in the presence and let the oil be on your tabernacle. And he said, as long as you stay anointed, the oil will answer your critics. Then he said, don't defend yourself. Because if you defend yourself, then you give people power to judge you. You are not on trial. Don't explain yourself.